So my journey as a changemaker began when I was about 15 years old. I had an awakening to the state of the world. I could not unsee what I had seen. At first, I must have been a very difficult teenager to live with for a while. I rebelled, not by partying and going out, but by saying, how could you let it get this bad? How can the world be like this? And we live in peace, in a sheltered way, in my home country, Switzerland. From there, it was clear that I was going to dedicate my life to change. There was no doubt about that. It was just a question of how. How can I best contribute? How can I make the biggest difference possible? With youthful optimism and relentless energy, this led me to do one thing after the other. I was in the European Youth Parliament. I was very active in trying to get young people to take part in policy changes, to take part in discussions about the future. I was engaged as a UNESCO young leader. I was working with multilateral organizations. I was an activist. I was all over the place. After a couple of years, I realized that the problems run way deeper than I first thought. That it was not just a matter of getting young people into politics, not just a matter of getting women into decision-making spaces, that even if we have a parliament that is completely representative of the population demographically, it is still limited by a 4-year election cycle. That the system is causing the problems that we have. I then started to work on systems change. And my biggest question was, we are so many. We are so many people who care. We are so many people who are here for change. Look at us today, right? All over the world, people care, people are engaged, more and more of us. And my question began, how come we are not reaching the results that we really want and need? How come, we heard the reality check before, this is where we are today, despite all of our collective efforts? And the answer that I uncovered over time, over the last 8 years of systems change practice and research, was that it lies in the how we try to solve our problems. It lies in how we think, it lies in how we act, and it lies in what we ignore as we go about trying to address these complex challenges we're facing. So how we think. Typically, when we look at an issue, most people think short-term, most people think linearly, and most people oversimplify what the problem actually is. There's a pretty on-the-nose example from last century of the agate toad in Australia. They had a problem of a beetle that was eating the sugar cane that the colonizers were trying to plant and grow there. Somebody had the brilliant idea, I'm just going to import this toad, the agate toad. If you've ever been to Australia, you've probably seen it. It's a huge thing. What happens? Seems like a simple solution, right? A toad is going to eat the beetle. When, of course, in reality, not only did the toad not eat the beetle, but it overtook the whole ecosystem. It had no natural predator in Australia. Even the crocodiles that we so fear when we look at, oh, in Australia, everything's trying to kill you. Well, actually, if the crocodile eats the toad, the crocodile dies, because a toad is highly venomous. So rather than solving the problem, because these people thought so linearly, so oversimplistically, and so short-term, they actually caused a complete ecosystem collapse in the whole continent, right? And this leads to absurd situations where mayors are calling for killing tours. Come together, we're going to kill the toads, as a way to try and fight the symptom of the issue. So that's how we think. And then how we act. So often, decisions are taken somewhere, someplace, about other people, for the lives of other people, without their participation, without their consent, without their involvement. And that's a huge problem, right? We come together in ways that we put our ego over what's good for the ecosystem. We fight, we compete. I'm going to solve this problem. No, I'm going to solve this problem. And I'm like, we are all one team shooting towards the same goal. How can it be that we are still competing at this stage rather than collaborating? And then what we ignore. We ignore that there are power dynamics, that there is privilege, that some people have more power than others, and that the more people benefit from the status quo, the more resistant to change they will be, the more they will fight us, the more they will do everything in their power, and sometimes ignoring us is enough, sometimes it's active resistance, to thwart our efforts. But we also ignore the fact that we are often acting out of alignment with our own values, and we tend to ignore our own blind spots, places where we fail to really live up to what we wish the world could be. And I'm not saying that it's easy. We live in broken systems. All the incentives are to the contrary, right? It puts a big burden on individuals to try to compensate for that and really bring towards change. But there's another way. And so what I propose is that when we think, let us think holistically, let us think systemically, let us think long-term, 7 generations from now at least. When we act, let us act collaboratively. Let us act in ways that we put our ego a little bit to the side and that we think what is best for the ecosystem. And let us face the power dynamics that are at play here. Let us face our own shadows, our own shortcomings, and take full responsibility for what we are here to contribute. This is what I learned over the last 8 years, working on this field of systems change, trying to do this work. And in a way, when I look at where we are now, the reality of today, and I feel hopelessness creeping in, and I feel like everything is lost. It is the idea, the concept of systems change and its strategies that bridges that gap, that allows me to remain engaged, that allows me to remain hopeful, because I see how there could be a path forward for us. Albert Einstein once said that we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them, right? And yet that's what we keep trying to do. So how can we come to this different way of thinking, of acting, and of facing what needs to be faced? My invitation, whether you are going to dedicate yourself to systems change or not, is to remember that we are all part of so many systems. We are the systems. We might not be its most powerful actors always, but we are a part. And every choice we make is casting a vote for the kind of future that we want. With every action, you can ask yourself, what kind of paradigm am I fostering here? Am I fostering a paradigm of regeneration, of inclusion, of justice? Or am I fostering a paradigm of business as usual, which we know pretty well where this is going to lead? So my invitation to us today is to stand both firmly in the reality in what is, to also remain connected to what could be, to believe in our own potential to make a difference, to connect to our own responsibility and what we can do, and to realize what we could be doing if we were truly acting together from a place of ecosystem awareness and taking responsibility for that. So with this, let's co-create the world that we really want to live in. Thank you.